No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do. I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend.
I don't know how the executives over at Turning Point USA sleep at night. Okay. I don't know how you can present yourselves as a Christian organization and not be dedicating yourself to the truth. And I don't
Believe me, I have like a PhD in fake tears.
So when I saw this moment, I was just thinking about myself and a lot of emotions and grieving that I have experienced.
In American politics, real scandals move fast, but fake scandals move even faster. And sometimes all it takes is a single photo, one frozen second in time, to set the internet on fire with a story that isn't even real. That's exactly what happened when Vice President J.D. Vance stepped onto a Turning Point USA stage in Mississippi, leaned in to greet Erika Kirk, and accidentally gave the entire internet enough fuel to burn down a marriage he wasn't even part of. In the photos, they look close, a little too close. His hands appear to be resting on her hips. Her fingers drift into his hair. Their faces are inches apart, the kind of proximity that keeps gossip columns alive. And if the images weren't enough, the clip of Erika saying, "No one will ever replace Charlie," but didn't help. That small pause became a canyon, a blank space millions of strangers felt free to fill with whatever narrative entertained them the most. People didn't ask questions. They didn't look for context. They didn't wait for the video. They didn't care. In the era of viral speculation, all that matters is the story, and the story the internet decided to tell was simple. JD Vance was leaving his wife Usha for Charlie Kirk's widow, and suddenly everyone online became an expert in body language, lip reading, marriage psychology, and political matchmaking. But here's the twist. Once you actually watch the footage, the scandal disappears like smoke in sunlight. The passionate, intimate embrace that people thought they saw, it lasted barely a second. Vance's hands weren't lingering on her waist. He touched her sides for a moment as he pulled away. Erika's hand brushing through his hair looks dramatic in a still photo, but in reality, it was a blink and you miss it moment, gone before anyone would have noticed if the camera hadn't caught the exact half second that looked the most suggestive. The entire thing was a product of angles, timing, and an internet that desperately wanted another political storyline with cheating, whispers, and betrayal. But to understand why this nothing burger instantly transformed into a high-calorie scandal, you need to zoom out, because this was never just about a hug. It was about what people wanted the hug to mean. The same day those photos spread, an old interview clip resurfaced of Erika Kirk talking about Vance. The quote was innocent, even respectful. She said no one could replace her late husband Charlie, but she appreciated Vance stepping into the role Charlie once filled at Turning Point events, debating students, representing conservative youth, pushing their message forward. But out of context, that sentence sounded like a confession, like a woman preparing the world for a new relationship, like a widow opening the door for a powerful man to walk through. So the story wrote itself. Erika Kirk was grieving, vulnerable, possibly lonely. J.D. Vance was ambitious, rising fast, charismatic enough to bend a room around him. And somewhere between those two narratives, people saw an opportunity to create a political soap opera. Memes exploded, comment sections lit up, TikTok detectives slowed down the footage frame by frame, convinced they were uncovering the next DC affair. People even dragged Erika's outfit into the drama, calling her leather leggings a trap, a warning, and a deliberate choice. It got petty, it got sexist, and it got ugly fast. Some posts joked that she wore those leather pants to remind Vance of his favorite couch, a reference to his infamous love of leather furniture. Others posted side-by-side photos comparing Usha to Erika as if they were contestants in some dystopian Choose Your VP's Mistress competition. But underneath the jokes, there was a darker undercurrent, one that exposed a lot about how political audiences view women, especially widows, and how fast they weaponize appearance against them. The truth is simple. Erika Kirk hugged a colleague in a moment of warmth, and the internet turned her into a villain for being attractive while grieving. But the rumors didn't happen in a vacuum. Two key things poured gasoline on the fire. First, J.D. Vance said something strange that same day. Something about his wife, something that made people uncomfortable. When a reporter asked whether Usha still practiced Hinduism, Vance said he hoped she would eventually convert to Catholicism. It wasn't the first time he'd made comments like that. Comments that felt less like affection and and more like ownership. They struck a nerve. They made people wonder how tight the marriage really was, made people wonder whether Usha was equally invested.
What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is
kind of sending a message here that she's not standing against the people that are telling the truth. I said early on, if Erika Kirk asks me to be quiet, I will be quiet. She didn't ask me to be quiet, so I don't know what I'm supposed to.
Second, Erika's quote about Charlie, short, clipped, emotional, sounded too raw, too open, too easy to misread. Together, those two puzzle pieces created the perfect storm, and suddenly, people weren't just speculating anymore. They were predicting. Predictions like Vance will leave Usha within a year, Erika Kirk will become the new MAGA First Lady, the movement wants a blonde at his side. Erika fits the aesthetic better. 2028 will be the year of Vance and Kirk. It was delusion disguised as political analysis, because all of this rests on a fantasy that JD Vance is some irresistible force of charisma, a man women secretly orbit around. But JD Vance is not that guy. He's not some political heartthrob leaving emotional wreckage behind him. He's a Yale-educated author who reinvented himself as a mega warrior. He's a man whose supporters admire his speeches, not his personal magnetism. Even his critics agree on one point. He has the personality of a lecturing bookshelf. The idea that Erika Kirk, a former Miss Arizona USA, a public speaker, an influential conservative figure in her own right, would risk everything because she couldn't resist JD. Vance is, frankly, hilarious. But it didn't stop the story from spreading. People began crafting entire narratives. Usha was in danger. Erika was hunting Vance. The VP's marriage was collapsing behind the scenes. The MAGA crowd wanted a whiter family image. It was racist. It was sexist. It was political fantasy dressed as concern, so eventually both Vance and Erika were forced to respond. Erika talked about the scrutiny she had faced, saying cameras analyzed her every movement. Vance took to social media and called the commentary about his marriage disgusting. Neither denied the moment happened, because it did. Neither apologized, because they didn't do anything wrong. They simply expressed frustration that an innocent greeting had spiraled into a national theory. But the internet never apologizes. The internet never backtracks. Once a narrative is delicious enough, nobody wants to give it up. And that's where the deeper layer of this entire fiasco reveals itself. Because this wasn't just a rumor about two people. It was an X-ray of the political culture surrounding them. People who dislike Vance found it irresistible to imagine his personal life collapsing. People who dislike Erika found it satisfying to accuse her of being inappropriate. People who dislike Usha found it convenient to replace her with a blonde widow. People who dislike Turning Point USA found it easy to believe everyone involved was messy. It was a narrative with enough biases to fuel itself without evidence. But here's the truth, stripped of headlines and speculation. JD Vance hugged a widow. A camera captured the one angle that looked dramatic. Erika made a comment that sounded emotional out of context. The internet spun those pieces into a romance novel, and the story survived because it confirmed everyone's pre-existing opinion of someone. It revealed how quickly the world turns a widow into a temptress, a marriage into a battlefield, and a politician into a character in a fiction they never asked to be in. And in the end, the wildest irony is this. The rumors only worked because people needed Vance to be the kind of man who could have an affair. They needed Erika to be the kind of woman who would pursue one. They needed Usha to be the kind of wife who might be replaced. And they needed political drama more than they needed truth. But this entire saga was smoke, literal vapor, drifting off a single freeze frame image. The internet saw two people hug, and it wrote a love story that never existed. Because in politics, rumors don't need evidence. They only need momentum. And last week, Vance and Erika learned just how fast momentum can turn a single second into a national obsession.